I'd like to call the April meeting of the Cherokee Village City Council to order. Please join with me in the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us have a moment of silent prayer, please. Amen. Our city clerk is absent due to being a little under the weather, so we have a substitute clerk tonight, our district court clerk, Sandy Elliott. Would you please call the roll? Or who's doing it? You're going to do it, okay?
I'm doing it.
Okay. Angela Herndon, our administrative assistant, P.E.G.
Pam Rowland. Here. Chuck Crispy.
Here.
Carr Hill. Andrew Heffley. Eddie Ishmael.
Here.
Steve Thompson.
Here.
Rob Smith.
Here.
Peter Martin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is approval of tonight's agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda and accept the minutes from the last meeting as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Smith to approve the agenda as written. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. Any comments from the public regarding any of the agenda items? None. Next item is the approval of the minutes from our March meeting.
We did that in that motion.
Yeah, I missed it. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to redo it?
I'll redo that motion. Yeah, I say we accept the minutes as sent to us.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Smith to approve the minutes from the March meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved, be filed for audit. Clerk, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, sir. One letter addressed to the mayor. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the Cherokee Village police officers for going above and beyond in their duties. Police Chief Monty Lane assigned 3 officers to patrol and control traffic prior to 5K run on April 16th. These men did a superior job. They followed the runners through the entire race route and controlled traffic the whole way, making this a safe run for the 60-plus participants. Before leaving the area, the officers checked in to confirm that their services were no longer needed. Cherokee Village should take great pride in the men and women that go above and beyond when asked for help in special events. Sincerely, Robert D. Smith, High Day 5K Chair.
Thank you. Next item of business is the financial report.
I motion we approve the financials for audit. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Christophe to approve the financial report for audit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion passes, one abstention.
Next item is the mayor's report. Proclamation that in May, the Kids to Park Day, encouraging the parents and any members of the community to get children out to the parks and outdoors and enjoy the recreational facilities that are available. And I shall read that to you. It says, whereas May 21st, 2022 is the 10th Kids to Parks Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the third Saturday of May, and whereas Kids to Parks Days empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks and public lands and waters, and whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors, and now, therefore, I, Russell Stokes Jr., by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Cherokee Village, state of Arkansas, proclaim May 21st, 2022 as Kids to Park Day in Cherokee Village. And that will be signed and posted whereof on the door to City Hall. Reminder that the sales tax form, which will be a question and answer, will be answering questions that were presented at the meeting previously, and that will be here in City Hall next Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. I would also like to add to what Mr. Smith said about our personnel who went above and beyond. A good example of that was Friday night following the storm. We had personnel with boots on the ground, checking for hazards on our roadways, where there were power outages, and also removing hazards on the roadway so they would make things passable. To my knowledge, we only had one street in the village that had to be fully closed, and that was Allegheny Drive, because of the power lines. Following the Pie Festival Saturday, late Saturday, I encountered Xylem Tree Service out at Choctaw Center. They were just winding up their work. They had come in here for energy to take care of the trees that had taken down power lines. And the supervisor of that work crew in the conversation said, you know, you had a pretty good case of straight line winds, but I tell you this, he said, your hail damage here is something else. And I said, well, I would agree with you on that. And I know that's something that people are dealing with currently. The city is undergoing their annual audit. The auditor came in last week. That'll probably be about a 2-week process before he completes, and then sometime later in the year we'll receive a final audit report. The Pie Festival, considering that we had a storm the night before and the weather wasn't real sunny, it was a little bit cool, we had a great turnout. I thought it far exceeded what we had the first year we had. It had almost 1,000 people at the Pie Festival. And those of you who came and enjoyed the pie or bought a pie, I think you understand the good luck of it. We had a fine group of judges and a visit by Miss Arkansas, and I think everybody here enjoyed themselves. And so we look forward to doing this again in 2023. That's all I have for my report. Next will be the reports we have on file.
Mayor?
Animal control.
Mayor?
Yes.
In your report, you alluded to in one of your correspondences about personnel changes. Could you elaborate on the change that happened? And my question on it is that if it was the treasurer, is that a department head position?
No, that's an appointed position.
It's appointed position.
Yeah. By ordinance.
Okay, that I think answers. Yeah. Well, did we get it filled?
Pardon?
Did we get it filled?
No, yeah, the applications close tomorrow.
Okay.
Personnel committee will be interviewing those screened by sometime in the immediate future.
And that's the only big personnel thing we have going on right now?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Okay, animal control report. We did have one situation where we had to come in and pump the septic at animal control because it got clogged up. There were some improper cleaning procedures being followed. Those should be corrected, so we won't have to resort to expending money for a clean out. See the community service report. District court report. Your fire department report. Have any questions of Chief Deans? You notice the format on that's changed a bit. It's reported now by county. I'll give you an idea of what and where most of the incidents happen. You have your code enforcement report. Any questions on that? Next is your police department report.
I have a question for the chief.
Yes,
On your report, the third one down, 2015-01. Is that your department doing that now, or is that planning and zoning did that? Or?
that's planning and zoning that does that.
But just it's thrown in
Citation.
your report?
Fees,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Next is the street department report. A lot of work has been going into replacing signage in the city, by working it by, I believe they're doing it by wards.
Are they changing it to the new law?
And making, they have to update them, they have to be a certain size now, and which makes them a little more legible. if the weather will ever dry out over a period of time and get back to doing some pothole work. Moving down to A&P, any questions, anybody on the street report? Okay, next to A&P report, Mr. Smith, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record before 2024 gets here, but we're heading to Batesville to the Ozark Gateways Conference next week. One of our guest speakers there will be on the 2024 eclipse and possibly what we can do to prepare for that. A&P is reaching out to the communities that surround us at this point. We'd like to have a group effort on how to control this as far as the traffic and events that will be coming up with that eclipse.
Are you trying to get somebody from the county to go with you?
Ozark Gateway, they send out the invitations. I'm not sure who they did. But,
I just wondered, because if we're policing that, it'd be nice to have somebody from the sheriff's department go with you.
Oh, before 2024, our plan is to have all the cities combined, and we'll have pretty much all the protection we can have. At this point, Peter, this thing's going to run through the center of the state, so everyone's going to have to beef up to make this happen. Arkansas Tourism has definitely got a handle on that side of it, and they're preparing for the onslaught.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, the airport has already been receiving requests from people to reserve a space for their plane, and I don't think they're going to be doing that. It's going to be a first come, first served basis. So I presume we'll be seeing a full complement of aircraft out there on the loading zone and the landing area off the runway. Next, no grant report. You have a P&Z commission.
Mayor, would you ask them if they can give us a non-approved copy so we're not behind?
Would you repeat that?
Would you ask them if they can, in this group, give us a non-approved copy so we're not a month behind,
Okay.
please?
You have a report from the Tri-County. They did receive some grant money through White River Planning Development District. Will go towards some equipment repair plus subsidized salaries out there. No report from the Welcome Center, although they are open and in use. We have no old business. New business. First item is
Mayor,
yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the first 4 short-term special use permits, since they have insurance submitted for all of them.
I think we do.
So if they do, I will make a motion that we approve the first 4 short-term special use permits.
Okay. I have a second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Smith to approve 4 short-term special use permits, which include Spring River Farmers Market, Art Center of North Arkansas, Thunder on Thunderbird, and the Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast.
Correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Those permits will be approved and signed, and they'll be available for the respective civic organizations to pick them up. Okay, next item of business is credit card and debit cards, and Mr. Smith, that's your item.
First of all, I'd like to thank Angela for all of her hard work bringing this to the table. Really what we're asking for here is just the ability to bring in 5 credit card machines into City Hall. With these machines, we can more effectively run our court system, our licensing for pets, our licensing and permits for building, any fines that would be paid after a court date, and it would also help our gift shop. This has been a long time coming. All I'm asking for the council to do at this point is to bring us into the 21st century. I don't know how much money any of you have in your pocket right now as far as cash is concerned, but the average individual walking into a business probably has about $17 in cash, and the rest of it's credit cards and debit cards. We have people that come into our court system here. We can have anywhere from 27 to 35 people backed up in this room during court. They're coming over here to pay the clerk. The clerk does not take credit cards. That person has to be excused from the court. It takes time out of the judge. He has to excuse them. They go down to the ATM. They pull out money. They come back here. They pay the fine. Or they don't come back here. That has happened also. So with a process like this, it would just streamline everything that we've got and make it more effective. When someone walks into the building and code department to buy a permit, they're really not expected to have to write a check because most of us don't write checks anymore. They go in expecting to either use their debit card or their credit card. This is an inconvenience to them. It slows down the process as far as our building department is concerned. This would just be a much easier way for the City of Cherokee Village to do business with the community.
Is this a commercial thing, or is this like a square, or?
We have gone with FMBC because they're our major banker as it is now. They will give us this entire system. We will have 5 terminals in different locations. There will be no cost to the City of Cherokee Village for the terminals or the working of the terminals. That cost will be passed on to the user, the individuals that actually use their credit cards. There will be a $95 a year fee to FMBC just for the advance on the process.
Do we have to have dedicated lines, or we're using our internet?
We'll be using dedicated lines.
So we're using phone lines for this?
Yes.
I would suggest trying to find a way to use our internet instead, because having a dedicated phone line for each one is going to be a bit of a bill.
It is not going to be a phone line.
Okay.
It will be a dedicated Ethernet.
That's great.
And we also have the capability of doing it virtually.
Even better. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I make a motion that we let them go ahead and get into 2022.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin to accept this proposal to institute credit card machines at City Hall, which would require an annual fee of $95. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Christophe. Roll call vote, please.
Chuck Christophe,
Yes.
Mr. Headley,
Yes.
Eddie Ishmael,
Yes.
Steve Thompson,
Yes.
Rob Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Pam Rowland.
Yes.
It all passed.
Okay. And you can, Mr. Smith, start pursuing the acquisition of machines.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I hope we got space where we can set them up.
Logistics, always logistics.
Okay, next item of new business are trail systems. Mr. Eccles here, or no, he's not here?
He's not feeling well,
Okay.
so I'm filling in. This, if you look a little closer, this is regarding the page 63 of the agenda. So if you're at 63 of the agenda. Okay, it's page 63 of the agenda. as you can see up there. Trail system is designated to promote healthy lifestyle for those living or for those residing as well as visitors here to the, for here, okay. The city of Cherokee Village supports the advancement of trails, walking, hiking, biking, and triking. The community leadership is committed to supporting a community-wide system. The following members of the city council of Cherokee Village and our mayor, what I'm asking is for signatures for this, and what I passed out to them is a statement. I'm stating this is not saying we're going to spend money today, we're not going to spend money tomorrow. This is not committing any funds. This does not commit funds. It does not request any funds. We do intend to look for grants. The city has 100% privy or discretion to make decisions regarding city property. You know, there's no question about that. It is a request from Jim Gilly. We met him before at City Council. He is, has been active in creating trails and working directly with the family in West Arkansas. And it's a requirement for him to seek funding from private individuals. The statement means that we, as a city, support trails. We're eager to see a trail system. We need to begin moving this needle forward for the community. By voting yes or by signing is a vote of yes, favor, that you favor trail building here in the community. If you vote no or if you abstain, this means that you do not favor the building of trails in our community.
I think the question that the city council would have is that down the road, will the city be obligated financially? Because we're not in the best financial picture currently.
No, sir. As I said at the top, it does not, we're not asking for any funds. We're not committing any funds. This is just saying that our community wants to further trails, further an outdoor lifestyle in the community. It's not committing, it's giving a statement that if the time comes or when we're looking for grants, whether they're 100% or they're a percentage, like this one that we're doing right now, that we're like ready. It's kind of like being pre-qualified for a loan. We're ready to jump. They're going to say, okay, when y'all say the money's there, if we need the money from the city, then we'll request it. If it's not there, you say no. But we're just looking for commitment to say we're open to this. It's not saying we're going to do it. It's not saying it's going to happen. It's just that it's saying the city is interested. And when the right thing comes along, the cities would be willing to jump on it, sort of thing. And this, it just takes a positive signature from everybody involved. That's our city.
We comment now?
Please.
Yes.
I think this is a little bit of a narrow scope. I believe Mr. Ishmael and Steve would like to include the side-by-sides and possibly, am I wrong in saying that, Mr. Ishmael? I was under the impression you were with a committee that was looking into this. And it might be a revenue producer for the city. So I don't want to exclude the possibility of making some revenue. We have a whole bunch of roads that aren't, how should I put it, drivable by a normal vehicle at this particular moment. And if they could make them be a profitable entity for us, then that's the kind of trails I'd like to see. As far as trails with bicycles and walkers, we have a lot of nice nice streets in Cherokee Village in my neighborhood. They have potholes in it, but you can walk up and down the street and not have to worry about getting hit by a car.
I don't know what it is.
You know, well, not my street, the street behind me. And, you know, Pontiac in my neighborhood is a bad street to be walking up and down, but there are still a lot of side streets that are great for doing what you want to do.
This is not what I'm talking about.
But you're saying trails.
You misunderstand a trail in the woods, say a deer trail, except
Okay.
a human is also walking on it, so it's maybe a little bit wider, it's not a skinny.
Okay, but
That's what I'm talking
what
about.
land of the cities are you talking about putting this on?
I don't have, all I'm asking is for initial support. I don't have anything right now in mind. It's just saying we're interested and we want to be there for you when the time comes, if we can do it. And it's not committing any money. I'm not asking for any money. We intend to look for grants.
But then somebody's going to have to, well, even police. If we have
Well, that's
10
why
miles of trails, are we going to have to start getting bicycles for our police officers and have them ride the trails every once in a while? I don't know. But I mean, those kind of things should probably be
well, that's down the
thought out.
road.
Well, but you gotta present something, I would assume, to us. The idea, I like the idea. Not against the idea. Don't like the way it's stated in here, but if you want to put, we like the idea of trails, I'm all for the idea of trails. But I don't want to commit any resources from the city to something that, at this particular moment in time, we can't, even if you have a grant to match, I think there's more important things. Potholes.
Oh, I'm not
Fire
asking, as I reiterate, I'm not asking for a dime, not even a penny
Then why do you need my signature?
for your support, you are interested in trails, you're interested in 4x4 trails.
I'm
The
interested,
government has gobs of money that they have been giving away for that, and there's not people taking it, it's still there. And that's a year-round thing,
but this is only bikes and pedal and walking.
that's what that shows,
Okay.
yes.
Well,
Um,
you know, I'm not against the idea of trails. I personally do not want to even give the impression that we have funds to give out to somebody. That's just me.
well,
Any other comments?
I have a question. In your handout, you stated that it is a requirement. Are you stating that this document is a requirement from Jim Gilley? Is he stating that it is a requirement
He
to have this please let me
Yes,
finish.
sir.
It appears that your statement in here is that Jim Gilley is stating it is a requirement for him to seek private funding from private individuals to have this document in his hand. Is that what you're stating?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. It is a requirement of what? Mr. Gilley or federal or state statute? What is it a requirement of?
Mr. Gilley has, I don't know him that well. I wish Roy was here to answer the question because he knows him. Mr. Gilley has secured funding for different things. I don't know specifically what, but there's a particular family in this state that he's very familiar with, okay? And that's all I know.
So,
But he needs
but I think
this in
Mr.
order-
Gilley needs to expound on on this statement that says this document is required for Mr. Gilley to go to this family to secure funding. Everything that you presented, and this page, I have great respect. You have done wonderful work on the Tohai Trail and the expansion, and you have gone and secured, great detail on that, and it's wonderful. But this is an extremely broad document, and there's not a great deal of clarity. There's obviously, Mr. Martin raised some issues of concern about other things that it might include, but while it's good in its intent, but I would have, this document is written, and the facts that you presented, I can't possibly sign this document because it's too broad in nature, number one. Number two, we are very specific in our guidelines as a municipality, as a Class A city, to follow certain procedures in pursuing grants, federal and state. And while it sounds good on the trail system, but Mr. Martin mentioned the issue that we have unused or underused roads within the city that would provide that, and you stated that that's not what you're looking for.
That, personally, I'm not. I'd like to be out in the woods, but,
I
that's just
understand.
a future deal.
Okay, and then we've had other individuals, including Mr. Eccles, come before the city and state that they want bicycle trails parallel to some of the existing roads in some areas. We don't even have shoulders for our citizens to drive their cars onto if they have a flat tire. And so at this point in time, as Mr. Martin, I would have to defer to his comments as well. We don't have, nor do we need to give the implication that we have the funding available to support a grant that would be 80%, any type of monetary commitment at this point in time.
Okay.
I do support healthy living. I have bicycles in my garage, that my family takes advantage of. But to ask council to sign a very broad document that is not specific, I don't think it's in our purveyance to do so, and I wouldn't recommend that my fellow councilmen sign such a document. And Mr. Gilly is going to have to, either through you or through Mr. Eccles, provide a whole lot more information about why it's a requirement for him to go raise private money towards his worthwhile goal. And give us something more to...
Excuse me. I would suggest we table this to the next month, and then at that time, maybe Mr. Eccles or Mr. Gilly can provide further clarification. Everybody would be in agreement.
Can I say something, Mr. Mayor? The way this is written, you would be signing it as individuals and not as a city, because the city operates through resolutions. So,
I would make a motion to table that
I'll second that.
for further study.
Thank you.
I have a motion on the floor. I have a second. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Martin to table this to the next meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So be it. It'll be on the agenda for the May meeting. Next item, any comments or questions on other city-related business? Mr. Martin.
I did mention side-by-sides and that, and is that committee still active, or?
It's kind of slowed down, but I've talked with some of the other committee members. We've identified a section of the village, mostly on the west side of the village. There's roughly 300 acres out there that have city streets that run through them, but they are impassable on most vehicles. We're trying to finalize a map to present to city council too. So the way the state law reads is if you have a trail that is designated as an off-road trail, side-by-sides and ATVs can go to that trail through the city streets. Currently, we do not have a state statute that would allow just free reign through city streets on side-by-sides. So for us to open that up to any residents or outside people, we would have to designate those streets as trails. Or we would have to designate a trail, not necessarily those streets, but for us, those streets are
If
trails.
we did that, would that affect our turnbacks, or could we look into if that would affect turnback on those roads?
I have not looked into that because I don't know the answer to that.
I would like to see. if there-
Turnback's not based on
Well,
miles.
I don't know what it's based on, I'm in the dark on that, but I didn't know if it would affect it one way or the other. But the council that is sitting here, do you have any objections to pursuing this?
Let's wait till the committee reports back.
Oh, see, I didn't know the committee existed until earlier today, so I was
Yeah,
having
we
hands on
met
it.
a few times and then, the weather and things like that kind of slowed us down last year. And so we started talking again and we've kind of identified a rough area. I'm hoping to, at the next meeting, to present a map. And again, those streets that we're identifying they're not maintained by our street department. They're overgrown, they've got trees that are down in them.
Well, thank you very much for your effort. I mean, I know a lot of people that have side-by-sides and things like that, and if we could keep them in the village and possibly charge them a fee for using our trail.
And that's something I don't know if we have the authority to do. I don't know enough about that. I know there's another community down by Heber Springs, Fairfield Bay. They have a similar situation to us, and I don't know exactly how they do everything verbatim.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments? If none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Our motion we adjourn.
Have a
Second, sorry.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Martin to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.